Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Runners Only with Dom Harvey. On this episode, All Black legend Kieran Read.
I questioned my whole existence in the game at that point. And then that night, lost it.
What do
with
you
my
mean?
wife and kind of just in bed and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
This guy is pretty much Superman. He's played 128 test matches, 52 of them as captain. He was named world's best rugby player in 2013. He won 2 World Cups, 4 Super Rugby titles, 11 Bledisloe Cups, 7 Tri-Nation titles. The list goes on and on. Since he hung up the boots, he's laced up the trail running shoes and has clocked up some big Ks, including a big day out on the Old Ghost. All right, let's get into it. Kieran Read.
Hey, runners only, yeah, let's get it started. Hey, this is runners only with Dom Harvey. Fast paced, slow and steady, anywhere you coming. Just wanna connect for everyone who loves running. This is runners only, yeah, let's get it started. Hey, this is runners only with Dom Harvey. Fast paced, slow and steady, anywhere you coming. Just wanna connect for everyone who loves running. Hey, runners only with Dom Harvey.
Runners Only with Dom Harvey and Kieran Read, runner.
How you going?
G'day, mate. This is it's an honour to be in your house, sitting at your what is this, like a casino table?
Yeah, it's a poker table. This is actually a gift for my 100th test. So it's
A
pretty
gift,
awesome.
gift from who?
Gift from the players, the rest of my team. So chipped in and I got this made up, and yeah, pretty cool, pretty special. Play some poker or 500 or whatever you want to play on here. So. At the moment, it's a work desk. So
What a gift! What a gift! And it says it's got your number there, 1083. The 1083. Yeah, geez. So we're sitting in what do you call this? It's like a man cave, a shrine.
Yeah, I think it's called the games room. So I'm not sure. I've got a few things up here. I probably, since I've retired, I can actually afford. Like I never wanted to put up memorabilia while I was still playing, like all the jerseys you kind of get and things, a few things you're gifted, which I've put up here.
So you're okay with it now, but you weren't okay with it when you were still playing? Why is that?
Oh, I just felt a little bit weird having something that was up here talking about my career and I was still playing. It felt like I should wait until I've actually finished and then maybe put it up. So I'm all right now. When my girls get a bit older, I can bring their prospective boyfriends in here and just show them around. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, you must look back now with the benefit of hindsight and just be immensely proud of what you did. I suppose when you're in it, especially for as long as what you were, you probably don't really have time to pause. You're just thinking about the next game or the next season or whatever. But you must look back now and go, "Fuck, I did some shit."
Yeah, it is. It's strange because I think, honestly, when you're in it, you're just going through it and you're just doing what you need to do. It's it's not about kind of what you're doing. It's more just, hey, what's next. So. For me, it was, I've had time to reflect a little bit. I think you still, I'm not really that person that's going to look back and go, wow, that was amazing, or, it's
I was the man.
But, it's like, it was cool, and it was, all part of it.
Now, I Googled you yesterday when I was doing some research, and you Google your name, and one of the first thing that comes up now is Kieran Read weight loss. Why would that be?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I'm not sure, but I think everyone, it's the first thing if they haven't seen me in person since I played rugby. I've lost over 10 kgs.
Just muscle.
Just muscle. I don't know if it's just muscle, probably a bit of fat too, because running. So I am running.
We are getting into that. You're doing more than just a little bit of casual.
And literally, I've done no weights. Literally haven't picked up a dumbbell or done any weights since I finished. Because I guess for so long, you're forced into a gym. I had to work quite hard to keep my weight on when I was playing. So, I'm probably naturally about this size, maybe, anyway. So, yeah, eating lots, getting in the gym, working hard, supplements, shakes, all the stuff that you chuck in your body just so you can go and perform on the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's a brilliant thing, you finish and then suddenly I don't have to worry about that stuff. So, obviously eating a bit less and but I think it's definitely been, I'm not running ridiculous amounts, but I think you just can't get to the point.
I'm going to have to stop you. This is just classic Kieran Read modesty. You ran like a large chunk of the Old Ghost Road last year, like 55 kilometres of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we did.
don't you dare tell me you're doing a little bit of running. It's an ultra marathon.
Yeah, I know, which was unbelievable because that was about 3 months after I got back to New Zealand, and with no real training, I'd done 20k was my most before that, about 2 weekends beforehand, every couple of weekends beforehand. So I did 2 of those runs. And then, the 55k was unbelievable. Old Ghost Road is amazing. Like, just the whole track and just being out in the wilderness. So, yeah, it was pretty cool for a mate's 40th. We got helicoptered into the top, the ghost hut, and then we ran out to Seddonville. And it was just a remarkable way. Like, tell you what, 30k, like once I passed 20k, I was like, this is a first run. Got to 30k, I'm feeling all right.
After 20, you're sort of in unknown territory.
Yeah, you are, yeah. And I was like, man, this is actually okay. Like, I was going okay. It worked out quite well. So me and another girl, we got choppered in first with a mate who was kind of a ring-in on a bike. So we all kind of, we took off, and then the actual runners arrived, you know.
What do you mean the actual runners?
They arrived, well, they're just fitter than us. They arrived 15 minutes later. Or 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later. And so we took off, and we didn't actually, know. So they didn't catch us till about 30k in. And we thought they'd catch us after an hour or so. And we're just, going, doing our thing. And then we're like, oh, well, we'll stay ahead of them now. We may as well just keep going. And then it's probably, it coincided when they caught us at about 30k. And then my body just shut down. And it was a tough 10k there. And then managed to run out. Basically run out the last 10k. But for about 10k, it was a decent walk trek for a while. But it was good.
Wow, I've been signed up to do the Old Ghost Ultra for the last 2 years, but due to COVID, I haven't been able to. So next year's the year, and I'm fizzing about 85 k's.
Oh, amazing, mate! It's awesome. So what I did, I went back. So I went backwards. So I went downhill. So you're going uphill. So that's the whole thing I was thinking about. I know Scotty J quite well in Stevenson, and he's done it a couple of times. And I'm like, the whole time I was thinking, this is ridiculous. And I was going downhill. I was like, man, the 85k you're going uphill for the 55 that we did, basically uphill, although there is certain bits up and down, and then you've got that 20k out.
Have you got any desire to do the actual event, the whole 85?
I actually, probably more so something like that than a marathon, probably.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. It's just
trails are definitely more fun than
they just
like a road
seem
marathon.
A bit more fun. Like if I run around here, it's if I'm just running on the road, I struggle a little bit. Just been up to, I don't know what it is, but the body and everything. Whereas just been up on a trail, just doing different paces and things like that. You downhill, uphill, and maybe walking a bit, and all that seems to fit a bit nicely for me. Yeah,
there's no shame in walking on the trails. Why did you gravitate towards running post rugby?
So there's all my teammates would have said there is no way that I would go running. And there's no way I was going to go running, but I don't know. So now my kind of, friend group around, which is based around, I guess, our kids and the parents of our kids' friends and stuff, they're all into it. So they're all kind of, runners, but just weekend warriors, I guess, in some aspects. Yeah. But decent runners and stuff, and do a bit of adventure races and do a few, like a couple of them done Kepler and things like that. So I guess for me, it's like, well, to stay connected and, you got to go out there and do it with them. So it's kind of different. And it's like, I kind of, when you stop, you kind of, you miss that little bit of camaraderie, like that's the thing I definitely miss most about not playing, is the fact that you turn up with your mates every day and laughing and doing all that. So getting out and going for a run with them, every couple of weekends or something, it was a bit of fun. So ended up doing that, and I actually enjoy it because it's totally different to what I've done for 20 years. So
how competitive are you as a person? I suppose what I mean is obviously like when you're all black captain, you're super competitive, and losing is the worst thing ever. Are you able to just like run for fun? And you are.
I am. So I've gone, as you said, like so competitive for so long and everything. And yes, I'm competitive in certain things, but I actually don't need I don't need to have that moment of real competitive satisfaction to get me going. You know, you know, I'm just like, I don't need to find that anymore. You know, I've had it for so long, so I can go out for a run and chill, like around home here. I'm probably competitive against myself a little bit, especially on like my shorter runs when you know, if you just go out the back here for 6 or 8K, you're kind of always checking, well, you're not checking your time, but you're kind of wanting to make sure you do a good time. But
yeah, of course.
Up in the hills, I know, which is a good thing though for me, is that the guys who I run with are faster than me. So for me, it's like I can't, like, it's good to push me, compete. But I don't need to try and compete. And so that's all good. And yeah, quite just enjoy it, just be able to go out and clear the head, really. Like, I have to do something, and because I'm not a big, you know, guy to go get in the weights and things, it was like, if I have a couple of days of doing no exercise, man, it's it's you know, I just don't feel right, you know. Yeah.
Oh, mate, I 100% resonate with what you're saying. Like, for me, running is the mental health benefits probably outweigh the physical health benefits, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
Like the mental clarity you get from it is...
I think it's true, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
It does. It's during the time as well when you're running, I guess, you'd feel that, but then it's just clears your head and clears your mind, and you can come back and kind of do the rest of your day or do whatever it is, or, you know.
It resets you.
Yeah.
And so you say you were a little bit competitive within yourself when you're running around here. What sort of pace are we talking? Like 5-minute K pace?
Yeah.
4 something?
Yeah, 5-minute K pace. Like, so... A couple of years ago when I was still playing and I came back and I was like, I'll do some running. It was lockdown, so I've got a 6K loop out the back here, which is kind of on a little bit of a trail, and it's for me, I was like, started about 6-minute Ks, 5Ks, and this is when you're playing rugby and you're like, man, but just running was just foreign to me.
Yeah.
And so I just worked that down. I wanted to get under 5-minute Ks for this 6K, and so I did one run 4:59. I was like, oh, that's it, done. So I've done. So then I didn't have to run that run that 6K again. And so I've done that, and then I just progressed from not even worrying about the times to then just going a bit further. You know, like you know, going there's awesome trails here in the forest, a couple of 10K type loops and stuff, and you know, you're running for an hour and and doing it. So it's like, okay, and so I'll you know. I'll be, if I want to run fast, between 4:30 and 5, you know, between 5 to 10K. So, you know, but if I run a bit longer, I'll definitely be slowing down.
Yeah.
I don't think, I kind of hit the wall after about that, I reckon.
Yeah. So not that it would bother you at all, but Richie would smoke you in a 10K.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, I spent 10 years getting smoked by him in running sessions every day. Anyway.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
What sort of running was involved when you were in All Black? Like, do you do like a 1,000 metre or 3,000 metre? Or
nah, so it's no distance really. It's all based on interval stuff. So you got a rugby field. So it's all based off kind of 100 metres shuttles. So you might do a 200 metre run, rest, and then do 50 metres or back and forth on the 22. You know, 8 times or something. And doing it under time pressure. So doing, say, you know, 100 metres or 200 metres in 40 seconds, and then 20 seconds rest, and then doing it again, kind of thing. And so it's all under fatigue. So it's all kind of at high intensity. And so, you know, Rich he's a runner, and I wasn't. So if I was kind of in his shadow and over that period, then I knew I was real fit. Fit. So I was pretty motivating to be able to train with someone like that, and you know, and so for basically every day, you know, work together and doing that stuff. So it was good.
But it's amazing following like both of you guys post rugby, because I sort of remember. I'm a bit older than you, but it seemed like when I was growing up, every professional sports person that retired got fat or got big. You and Richie, you're leaner and trimmer and fitter than what you ever have been. Yeah,
I think so. I think I was the same looking at it. So you go one or two ways, I think. I think that is legitimately it. Yeah. You know, and there's a lot of big props who have really trimmed down, and got in really good shape. And so I don't know. I think it's just a case of maybe now, because it's been we live professional lives. You know, you understand the benefits of it all, and and what you're doing, and maybe your body too realizes, hey, if you stop, you're going to be in all sorts.
Yeah.
So you may as well keep going while you can.
Yeah. How is your body now? Like you had some. We're going to get into your career soon, and what a career it was. But it's amazing that you played so many tests because you had so many injury breaks, didn't you, over the years? How's the body now?
Yeah, body's actually really good.
Yeah.
So touch wood, really, it's in great nick. Like I finished playing a year ago. I came back with a real dodgy knee. Like my knee's probably the worst thing, and that will go first. And so the first few months when I kind of stopped playing, it gave me, real hell, and it was. But then just from running, like I could run and be fine, and then I'd be around home and I'd play soccer or something out in the backyard, and I'd do my knee and like hobble away, and then and then it would kind of click back in place and carry on, and then I was like, and it just slowly progressed and got better and better.
Yeah.
I think you lose a bit of weight and not putting as much stress on it, and I've got a disc that I've bulged in my back and had surgery on, and that's something that's going to be a worry at some point again probably. But at the moment, I'm feeling really good.
Oh, that's lucky.
So there's just kind of nothing really that's stopping me.
Yeah.
But I can go for all these runs, like go for those long runs, and feel tired and sore and everything, but anything that requires pace or power, just playing touch in the background or something. Even with the kids, you finish that and you go, oh, you're so sore that night and stuff. How did I do this?
Yeah. So your career, you're the third most capped All Black ever. Who's ahead of you, by the way?
So Richie and Kevy.
Milamu. Right.
Yep. He's a 5 or so ahead.
Right.
And then actually, I think now Sam Whitelock is just ahead of me.
Right.
I believe maybe it's equal or just past me. So I might have just slipped down.
So 128 tests, 52 of them as captain, 2 Rugby World Cups. By the way, interrupt if I get anything wrong here. 4 Super Rugby titles.
Yep. That's one. Yep.
11 Bledisloe Cups.
I don't know. Every year I played it.
And world's best player in 2013.
Yeah.
When do you realise? Because I suppose the big milestone is first of all like being named and making the All Blacks. When do you realise that you're a good All Black?
I don't know. I think maybe when you just feel like if you do what you do, you're going to be playing. Maybe if you're playing consistently for the team, is probably when you realise that. If I want, I can be here for a long time.
Yeah. And
so for me, that might have been around just before 2011, maybe, like in 2010, after a few years, maybe. But you still just want to keep pushing yourself, in that environment. So, it's a strange one. I think when you play first, you're just like, wow, it's amazing. And it's just like, it's kind of like addictive a little bit that you just want to keep pushing yourself as much as you can and try and find what's the limiters for yourself, and obviously the motivating factor is the team and how amazing it is to play for for your nation and a team like the All Blacks. So
and what 128 tests, 52 as captain. What's the difference in terms of pressure between just being a player and being a captain? What's the difference? You have to excuse my ignorance. I've got no idea.
No. Honestly, it's actually massive.
Yeah, like what, admin-wise? Or
just everything, really. Like, I think, when you're playing, like, it's yes, you care about the team and you're worried about things, but you can kind of park that, I guess, once you've finished trainings and stuff and you go home, back to the hotel and play PlayStation, go for cards, whatever. Whereas I found as soon as I was named captain, that it was very hard to remove the game from your mind. And so, there's all these extra things you got to do around media and admin and stuff, and all this extra responsibility, which is actually doable. That's not the hard part.
Yeah.
It's the part that gets entrenched in your mind about the game. All you're thinking about is how we can do this better. And so you'll come back from training. You can't just sit in your hotel room and watch, Netflix or something. You'll be thinking, "Oh, we should be doing this," or "What if we did this or that?"
Right?
Or that. And so because as captain, I guess the responsibility is more, more on your shoulders. So I really respect, what Richie did and understood, that it's difficult. And you could kind of tell because it was hard to be, I guess,
it's hard to switch
truly
off.
Switch off. And so it was really about trying to find spaces to make sure you did switch off. So I kind of got to the point where it's like, actually structuring those times to switch off and find that balance, especially when you're on tour. Like when I was at home, it's a bit easier, but when you're on tour and stuff, you can just get stuck in a bit of a loop. But getting out, playing cards, going for a walk with the lads, dinner and stuff like that. So
yeah, you maybe that's something that compartmentalising it. Maybe that's something that you managed to do better than Richie, because everyone I've spoken to says Richie never had a conversation about anything other than rugby.
yeah, and that's fair. And I think he was so dead. That's what made him so good, and in a way, and what a lot of people is. And it's like, well, he had no kids. When he was captain, he only had a partner for like the last couple of years. So his 100% focus was rugby. And I was, when you're there and in the moment you're doing that and you're giving your all and feel like you're giving just as much. But there's other things in life when you've got, I had 2 kids and I had 3 kids. I had my third when I was captain, and you just, things are slightly different in perspective, I guess, in that way. And maybe also the type of person I was anyway. It was, so I valued certain things and as leaders in terms of connection and creating, connections and teams. So, but I totally, understand how stressful it is though. And so I think if you talk to people around me, I think I would have probably changed, even though I hoped I didn't. But there's certain things that, certainly change it, because it's, there's a bit of pressure there, 100%.
Yeah. What made you a good captain? I mean, 52 tests as captain is, shit, it's mind-blowing. What made you good?
Oh, man, I don't know. I can't answer this, man. It's like
you're the most modest person you could ever meet. But can't you now look back and go, okay, this is why I was good?
Well, I can look back and pinpoint certain things that I think I was good at. Yeah, but I'm not going to stand here and blow my own trumpet about it. But look, I think it is a basis of who I was. I wasn't trying to be someone I wasn't. I think I was pretty lucky to come into the captaincy after, I was, already nearly 80 tests played. I'd captained the team already about 10 times or so before I was actually named captain. And so I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was going in there genuinely being who I was as a person, as a leader, and then going in there and doing it for this team that I was really passionate about. And actually helping people is probably one of my things that gives me a real, I get a real big kick out of doing that.
Yeah.
And still do a little bit now, definitely. And so I had this team that was different to the team I'd been involved in beforehand, with all these young guys coming in, and then you just want the team to do well. And I think for me, it's putting a bit of their ego aside, and I think maybe that's what I did well as a captain, and also probably similar to what Richie was, is that I could make decisions and stay pretty calm. And, with all the stuff that's happening out in the field, I was able to kind of just park a lot of that stuff and just be able to go out there and do my role. Yeah, I think so. And I think that really helps, being able to drive a team around the field if you're in that space,
Yeah. God, you must have seen so much change in your time as an All Black, over a decade, in terms of, I'm thinking vulnerability and stuff like that. Your book, one of the best rugby books I've ever read, Straight 8. It's very honest and very raw.
Thanks,
I'm
mate.
guessing. We got to get into that.
Yeah.
But was it quite different in the All Black fold, when you started, in terms of I caught up with your old teammate Zach Guilford yesterday, and he said in his early days of the All Blacks, he'd never show any vulnerability because he didn't want people to think he's a pussy.
Yeah.
Was it sort of like that when you started?
Yeah, look, I think it was. I think, I was, in some ways I was lucky because I did, I caught the end of that, maybe a bit more of that old school mentality.
Yeah, was it like that when you started, the backseat mentality in the bus?
A little bit, yeah. All Blacks was probably starting to change. So this was 2008, after, what had happened in 07, and maybe a bit more responsibility was being put on the players. when I first came back into the All Blacks. And so it was changing, but there was still a bit of, okay, you know, you show respect first and you do this and do that, and then it happens. But I think the All Blacks were ahead of the game in terms of, you know, Graham Henry, who got reappointed, and the coaches, Wayne Smith and all them, actually said to our players that it's time for you to take over the game. So our leaders in there, we're pretty damn good, like led by Richie and a lot of those guys. Kevin Milame was pretty massive, and being kind of a conduit between the younger players and the old. And,
right.
So it was, you know, I'm still going to say when I first came in, I was walking around on eggshells and shit scared about doing anything wrong.
Right, because you're like the lowest rung on the ladder.
Yeah. And so you are, and I think you probably still are coming in. But I think, you know, as a young player now, but maybe the young players coming in now are just a bit more confident, a bit more kind of, more assured of themselves because they've been brought up in these environments that are pretty professional, like even the school games, just ridiculously professional and stuff. So, you know, when they come in at 20, they're not as daunted or whatever. Maybe, I'm not sure, but what you wanted to create, like, so when I was captain for my last 4 years, was an ability where if someone came in new, I would purposely go and have a conversation not about footy with those guys and just really get to know them on a more personal level. And it could just be one simple conversation because, you know, there might be a few of them and just connection.
Yeah.
And purely and simple, you know, doing that and then just trying to make them feel a bit more comfortable. And I think it was, definitely done more so when I finished than when I first came in. It was more just, okay, you're here. You need to fit into what's happening. And you don't really ask too many questions. Whereas when I finished, it was, okay, guys, be yourself here. We want you to be yourself, and we want you to ask questions if you don't know or if you need some help. And I'm going to get to know you. And it's not up to you to get to know the older players. It's up to the older players to get to know you, kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's so healthy.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Yeah.
So your book Straight Eight, which was co-written with Scotty Stevenson. So how does that partnership work? How does that work? Does he sit down and interview you for hours?
Yeah, man. So it was interesting actually. So it's a bit like doing a very long form podcast. It was just hours and hours of talking, and I guess I can talk a little bit and go on. And so he did a lot of listening. I actually think I put him to sleep one time. He was under a bit of stress. When was it? I think he was doing, cricket and everything and rugby and all this different stuff at the time. So, and we'd just be on the phone, or if we met face to face, and I'd just talk for an hour or so, and we'd just block it out and do lots like that. So it was a lot of fun to go over things, and I just wanted to make sure it was a true representation and of, I guess, what you go through.
Yeah. Oh, and when you read the book back, do you feel like you've written it yourself?
I do. He did. And so doing it with Scotty was, purposeful as well, because I do know him quite well, and we're good mates. So, and I thought he's a great writer.
Yeah,
he's probably he's amazing at what he does. And so he did get my feel. And it does feel like when I read it, it's as if I've written it myself. So, very thankful for that.
Yeah. There's a few things in the book that I'd really like to unpack if you're keen to.
Yeah, sure.
On the assumption that a lot of people listening to this wouldn't have read the book, and hopefully after hearing this, they'll want to go out and buy it. But you talk about crying on 3 occasions. There's a head injury, a thumb injury, and the Christchurch earthquake.
Yeah.
What's the thumb injury? That seems like a random one.
Oh, thumb injury. Yeah. What was that? That was just before the Lions series. So it was in South Africa, Bloemfontein, the heart of the veld up there. And, just before half-time, Crusaders game against the Cheetahs. Just bust my thumb, and I knew something was bad. And we were playing, the Lions series was maybe 8 weeks away, 8 weeks away. And I just thought the worst a little bit at that moment. So you get taken back to the shed, kind of everyone comes in. I'm sitting there and at halftime, everyone comes in and kind of, the team comes in and you just don't want to give any emotion away to the team because they come and sit on the back. Are you all good? And I was like, yeah, I'm all good. But no.
You're fucked.
No, I'm pretty much fucked. And then you go, and then basically you're kind of just keeping all this emotion, and then suddenly as soon as all the boys go back out for the second half, I was just like, just lost it. And it's more a case of kind of knowing what potentially you could miss out on, I think, and I'd just come back from a bit of injury as well. So it was my wrist injury. So it was kind of all that emotion that gets pent up, and at that moment it just seems so massive.
Yeah, of course.
And then you go, so it's pretty awesome, man. South Africa's a crazy place in so many different ways, but it is amazing in other ways. So the liaison officer, I think, drove me to the hospital, private hospital in Bloemfontein at 9:00 at night on a Saturday, and he on basically the docs here, X-ray, you need surgery. We'll get our best surgeon. He'll come from wherever he's been. So if he hasn't had too many bloody beers before he turned up. But he comes in and he just said to me before, so the surgeon comes in that night at about midnight, I'm having surgery. And purely because they said, you've got to have it done. If you wait till you get home, it's another week because of swelling from a thing, and you might miss the series. He's like, Kieran, I promise you will be playing against the Lions. And like that's what and so he knew everything about it. He's like, I'll fix you, do not worry. And
by the way, that's a good voice you do. That's a good South African.
Yeah, I've spent about a year of my life in South Africa, so I should be able to get it. But and so going in there and then just spending it, and then so like spending a night in a South African hospital by yourself, kind of the doc, because you're all drugged up and everything. You don't have your phone or anything, so I'm literally, you're literally just there because the doc had taken it away. You're worried about people taking things while you're, just lying there. So, it was a strange time. But then I think, you just, in some ways, you go, okay, what's next? And you go, okay, I've got to get this right, and then you just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then I came back just for that first test. It was my next game. So it was pretty. It works out in the end.
Yeah, of course it does. But I suppose at the time it seems like it's the end of the world.
Yeah. And it's I think just knowing different things like injuries are tough. I think he's mentioned the concussion I had.
Oh yeah,
is that one? Or,
want to talk about that. And also the Christchurch earthquake. So where were you for the?
So 2010 we were at home, wife pregnant. When that kind of big one shook, but didn't really think.
Is that the one that was in the middle of the night?
In the middle of the night,
yeah, the first
kind
one.
of jump out of bed,
yeah.
And then we leave the next week, a few days later, to go to Aussie to play, and kind of didn't sense what an earthquake was then, I guess, because a few chimneys fell down, whatever. But then,
it was like that, was it? Because everyone was asleep in bed.
So it wasn't. It was like, okay, sweet. And then, February, we're in with Richie having lunch, Merivale Mall, sushi, and he's on crutches, and we just stood up, and I'm holding onto the table, and he's getting knocked, he can't stand up, and he's just getting knocked off his seat. This place is rocking, and you're just going, man, this isn't good, eh? And it's like you're looking around and looking into the supermarket, and things are just falling everywhere, and you're going, man, this isn't right. And I had an 8-week-old at home, and it's like, okay, man, said to him, I drove him, I was like, man, let's go, I'll drop you off. And so we dropped him off, and then on my way home, a 5-minute journey took about half an hour, just because suddenly there's flooding, and there's liquefaction everywhere, and like concrete fences are just rocked over, and just it's just an unreal sight. And it's kind of, then I get home, and my wife's standing on the driveway with baby, kind of get me out of here type of thing. And it's like, wow. And then suddenly there must have been another aftershock, and then our place just was around, we were quite close to a little creek, and we're in Shirley, which got heavily hammered by the liquefaction. So, but it didn't come up straight away at our place. So it kind of started coming up then when I got home, and then suddenly it's basically up, nearly getting into our house, onto the side of our house, covering our deck, and our whole, big old mounds in our driveway. It's a crazy thing. It shows you how much power they have. Yeah. So just a crazy time. But it probably didn't. It's not when I was just, you're in the moment there and you're doing things. We were in stayed with my auntie and uncle on the other side of town, and it was difficult, I guess, and tried to get my wife, up to family in Auckland. Yeah. And then it wasn't till, so basically from then on, we got stuck in. I got a few mates around. We cleared this liquefaction, and suddenly, there's just piles of these liquefactions around the road.
Just shit everywhere, right?
It's amazing, man. Yeah. So, we do our street, and it's just how big of a job it is ridiculous. So, we did my house, and then we went around and did different other houses and stuff, and it's just shoveling crap into wheelbarrows and taking them out onto the side of the road. And then, so I did that, and then I think happened, another big aftershock happened, and a little bit of liquefaction came back up. So I cleared it, whatever. And then I think it was June, and another aftershock happened. And aftershocks were happening all the time, so it was quite freaky, and it's not a great time.
Yeah, friends of mine in Christchurch, they became good at predicting it. That's a 4.2.
Yeah, you would, which is
terrible way to live.
It is, yeah. And so this one happened, and the liquefaction came back up, and it was quite decent, and it just kind of really, that was the sign of it. I think that really broke me, that it was, hey, this is going to keep going. And it was like, I don't want to shovel crap
for the rest of
here. And at the moment we're still playing rugby, and I'm leaving every weekend because we're not playing at home, and leaving my my wife and kid, and you're going, and it's like, what are we doing? And it just kind of, it was like a day off, and I just kind of was like a bit broken, I was like, man, I just can't do this.
Just beaten down.
Yeah, beaten down, and you just felt that way because you're just constantly worried about things. When you're away, you're worried because your wife's at home, and what if, But what was amazing was just the spirit of the community and how awesome it was, and the sense of knowing that you've shared this experience, and you understood what everyone was going through.
Yeah.
And everyone had the same kind of feelings. And so what was awesome, so DC, so Dan Carter said, he lived over kind of that side of town as well. He's like, mate, I've got, so his club, Southbridge, he had few players and things from Southbridge Rugby Club. So this is on a day off. I think it's kind of around quarterfinals time or something, and I'm, a day off, you should be resting up and, preparing for a rugby game. But it just was a strange year, and he was awesome, man. So he got his club in. So they come in a minivan from out in Southbridge and help me clean up my yard, and you do it in 6 hours instead of me trying to shovel away for 2 days. And get it done. But I think,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that whole understanding of what you went through, and it's weird. Just talking about it now, you kind of brings back those memories, because generally you forget, and it's but yeah, it was.
Thanks for sharing that.
Amazing time.
Jeez, you're a tough bugger. I think for me, I'm just pulling into the driveway immediately afterwards and seeing my wife and child there. I think that would be enough to break me, I reckon, just to know that everyone's okay.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the thing. It was. Yep. I didn't. You didn't quite. You just would. You didn't know. Man, you're like, Christchurch doesn't get earthquakes. It's Wellington. What's going on? So I don't know. It's just, you just had to adapt, and but certainly crazy, and it wasn't. Honestly, it drove a lot of people to, some pretty bad places.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Being able to share it with everyone together was pretty cool for us as a team in Crusaders, and then across the community as well.
Yeah, and you shared the story about Dan and his Southbridge mates. There was also the student volunteer army that were out doing their bit in the community.
Yeah,
it really brought out the best in people.
Oh, 100%. And so that's what we kind of tried to do too, you know, as Crusaders. You know, it was like, okay, what can we do?
Yeah.
You know, we were like, we can't play a game this weekend. Let's try and go out there and help out as many people as we can. And got to the point where the best way for us to help was through, you know, our performance and try to put a smile on people's faces. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it was,
that was an unbelievable season, man. Yeah. It was escape for us and for everyone else to watch. And, you know, aside from, you know, like far out, like a couple of points, you know, it would have been probably one of the greatest championships.
What happened? You have to remind me what happened.
Oh, we, you know, played every game away from home, you know, that year. So, you know, Nelson for our home games. We played in Napier for our home games. So every weekend you're shipping up and going away. We played in London. It was unbelievable. And then so quarterfinal. So then we went quarterfinal in Cape Town. No, quarterfinal in Nelson, semi-final in Cape Town, final in Brisbane. And we just ran out of puff, unfortunately. And maybe the whole occasion, occasion of what it was, and things. So we lost the final by a few points. Will Guinea, just unbelievable, scored this try from nowhere to win the game, basically. But what was amazing was that the fact that when we came home the next day on the plane, and just the airport was just chock with people. That there was like one of the moments that you go, man, that's why you're playing, why you love this place here. So
how good. Yeah, and the other occasion where you talk about you know, getting emotional in your book is a head injury, and there's you get into this in quite a deep way in your book, and it's actually quite a difficult portion of the book to read. Like, I gave me migraines just reading it. Like, it really, Scotty J and yourself really sort of captured the essence of, I suppose, what a concussion or head injury is like. I don't envy what you've been through. That sounds awful.
Yeah, no,
awful.
It's not nice to go through anything like that. And I think you know, it really, you question a lot of things, I guess, when you're going through what you go through around a concussion injury. And there's, you know, it can happen to a lot of people, can't it, in different walks of life. But I guess the nature of the job, I'd had concussions before, and you kind of have your time off and you come back and you're sweet. But this time, 2014, you know, these kind of headaches, things didn't go away, you know, and you're like, okay, we'll have some time off. My doc was awesome, Deb Robinson, she's amazing. You know, we just would talk a lot about what's happening, and even then, like, I had a month or so off the game. You kind of, and I'm like, I'm feeling okay, but, you know, there's obviously something not quite right. And so I came back for a game, and nothing happened in the game. Felt really good. This was the last game before we were going to go play for the All Blacks. Had a great game. Then the next day I drove the kids. We went out to Oxford, I think, had some lunch and stuff, and then I started getting like a headache, and it's the next day at lunchtime and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, that's no good. And you kind of second guess what's going on. And then next day going to camp with the All Blacks, and it was like a real kind of tough decision where I was like, I was like, I don't think I can do this, you know. It's like, so I kind of had to put my hand up and say, no, I can't play, and playing for the All Blacks is obviously what you want to do.
Of course.
And without actually having a specific moment that, you know, and I was like, oh. So I said, nah, can't do it. And, you know, so had 2 games off, came back for the 3rd test against England in Hamilton, and I was just talking to the doctors, and they were like, look, this isn't concussion, this must be something, you know, anxiety and different things and whatever.
Oh, they thought it was like a psychological thing.
Not necessarily psychological, but just things that maybe something wasn't quite right there.
Right.
And so I came back, and I was feeling better. So I wasn't, you know, if I'd put my hand up if I wasn't feeling right, and so I had done that. And so I came back for the 3rd test. And then sometime in the first half, like I copped a knock, and I knew because of it wasn't even a bad knock, and I knew what had happened, and I was like, but I didn't want to come off, more purely because of what people would write about, you know.
How do you mean? What would they write?
Well, like, you know, people would know I've had these problems, and I just didn't want to make it bigger than what it was. So I wanted to,
gotcha.
So if I came off before half time, then the headlines would be Kieran Read, you know, concussion, things like that. And more, I wanted to protect my family and my wife and stuff. So
you were worried about them being worried about you.
Yeah. So I kind of got my way to half time, and you kind of can run around on a rugby field. And to be honest, that was our best half for a while, and I played. Yeah, I could still play and do it. And so, but half time, I came off and I said to the doc, I was like, "Nah, that's me." So I stayed in the shed, and I cry a lot. So there's another time. So it was kind of like, and I was like, I questioned my whole existence in the game at that point. And then that night, I lost it.
What do you
with my
mean?
wife and kind of just in bed and stuff.
Right.
And so.
What did you think it might be? That might be the end of your career. You were that worried about it.
Yeah. So.
It's not
So it was just kind of, and that's a lot of what head knocks can, you know, they're funny things, eh? So, so it was like, oh man, this is it. You know, what I am doing, that's kind of the end. And then, you know, you go, wow. Got back to Crusaders, and they're like, okay, we're going to do these tests on me, which was awesome. So I went to a concussion specialist, tested all up, and flip out of all of it, my brain is 100% fine. And there's no symptoms of concussion really or anything or things like that, and everything's going good there. But I am completely out of whack with my balance. So my vestibular.
Are you still to this day?
Nah, not then.
No.
It was.
Right.
So my vestibular was system, which is basically, you know, people who come out of car crashes and stuff have that. Where I couldn't, anything that where I had to move, and my eyes would just take longer to catch up, and then you'd get a headache from it. So, like I'd drive for 5 minutes to training, and just turn your head to look for traffic, and then you get training, you have a headache, and you'd be like, oh, what the hell, you know? But it wasn't. So you'd attribute it to concussion, but it obviously was from the whack that my balance wasn't good. So I ended up seeing two things: seeing a psychologist and seeing a balance therapist who gave me all these exercises to do, which actually made you feel worse.
You talk about this in the book.
And
what drives you to keep doing those exercises? Because
it's hard, because you actually feel worse doing them, because you put in, it's like building muscle in the gym. Like, you know, you stress yourself, and so the same thing. And it was hard. And I must have been real shit to hang around with, and I didn't really tell anyone in my team about it.
Yeah.
So it was quite like I was captain in the Crusaders, and I was back playing. Yet I was feeling like crap the entire week, and then I'd stop doing these exercises on like a Thursday, and then have 2 days off before the game. And you kind of get through the game somehow. You know, start the exercise and feel crap again. But but kind of knowing it wasn't my head, and knowing it was, you know, so I was like, well, listening to the experts here, I was getting some help from a psychologist around the anxiousness and all that stuff.
What do you mean the anxiousness? Were you just like nervous of going into contact?
Nervous of different things and what could happen and all this stuff, and just around that, just headaches. You know, if you're getting headaches all the time, it's just it's not great on your mental well-being. So more that side of things, and kind of clearing your mind a little bit on that respect. So ended up doing a lot of kind of breathing and kind of meditation type stuff around it, aligned with all this other stuff. So around my balance. So it was a crazy time. Like, I'm pretty lucky I got out of it and stuff. Like, you know, with my brain in a good space. It's kind of scary. So when you see a few things pop up in media about, you know, lingering things,
Oh, like Carl Heyman, for example. Yeah.
So, but hey, I believe I did what I had to in the game at the time, and you know, I made sure I did rest when the actual brain was under, you know, and you know, stress. So, you know, we just got to wait and see there. But you know, you live your life, eh? Yeah, came out of that. So I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah.
To do that, yeah.
Geez, you're so considerate, aren't you? It's funny that you wouldn't want to be taken off in the first half because you're worried about your wife at home. I caught up with Harriet Kane for my podcast a couple of months ago, and she said a similar sort of thing. Like, I suppose from the wife's perspective, like watching Sam being stretched off with a back injury on the other side of the world. Like, it's not a sport for the faint-hearted today when it comes to partners.
No, I think it's actually, you know, a lot worse for them, you know, like, because they don't know, they just seen you go off, and you know what is wrong, and it's always hard. And I think, you know, and they cop the worst too in terms of, like, you know, the media as well. You know, the ones closest to you. Like, as a player, I don't read what the media is going to write about me, but
it's not good for the soul.
No, and so, but everyone, you know, your parents are, and friends and family and everything. And it's like, well, hey. You know, but you know, you understand it, but they ride the wave a bit more than you do, because you're in, you know, a bit more insular, and you know what's happening anyway. So, but yeah, it's hard on them, and you appreciate exactly what they go through. Yeah,
let's talk about your wife. So you're talking about something light for a second. So you're high school sweethearts.
Yeah, we are. Yep.
Yeah. So you met when?
I met at Roseville College, 2002. So it's
so you're how old at the time?
16 and 17.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So 20 years we've been together now. So it's
right. Who saw who? Was it love at first sight? Was it a slow burn?
My wife was. I think I was in her sights. Is what I'll say. So she was seventh form. I was sixth form, and
right. Okay.
And she would bunk off her arts, her history of arts class, or whatever, to watch me do PE. I think sit in to sit in the common room and watch me do PE. So
what were you doing in PE?
I don't know. You know, maybe my short shorts or something. I don't know what it was. And my long hair.
Because were you a big deal at school? Like, were you the man? You were very good at. We haven't even got into your cricket yet. You're very good at cricket, and I'm guessing you're very good at rugby.
Yeah, but I think at Roseville College, you know, being a big sports star wasn't much of a thing.
Okay,
you know, it didn't give you much status. Right. I guess in some ways, you know, there's certain aspects of it, but it was generally. Yeah, the older you were, the more status you have in the school. So I was, you know, still sixth form, uniform. And it came down to, like, basically we met, at a party, at a bonfire party it was, in Waiapa. And then, it's kind of just, it went from there. So, you know, I was probably from as a younger guy, I was hanging out with the older guys anyway, because you're playing with them. So, going to a few of those different parties and what have you. So it was a lot of fun, and I guess it kind of, our relationship just grew, and I think that was pretty awesome that for what ended up in my career, have been with someone, you know, for so long. And
she's your day one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she pretty easily, it puts me in my place. So
when did you realise it was love?
I don't know. I think it was reasonably early, I think, probably, but maybe that's just teenage love. But, you know, when we moved down to Canterbury together a couple of years later, and, you know, so we probably thought someone was, you know, genuinely serious. And a lot of stuff goes on. So, you know, things happen quite quickly, you know, at that stage of life. And knowing that you wanted to spend more time with her, and we went and flatted down here, and, and then it was all roses, and you kind of go, yep, that's who you want to spend the rest of your life with. Oh,
that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
That's really special. So how long was it before you proposed?
I got married when I was 23. Yeah.
Like 7 years into
7 years, yeah.
Shit, you don't rush these things, do you?
No. No, I didn't want to be too young.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. It was it was just one of those things. I had to make some money to buy a ring, I think.
and you got 3 kids now?
Yeah, 3 kids.
Yeah, two girls and a boy?
2 girls and a boy, yeah.
Nice.
So Al, Eden and Ruben. which are awesome. 11, 9 and 5, and they're at great ages, and awesome kids, all different, but just amazing, and cool to see, and they're all involved in sport and different things, and it's amazing, eh? Yeah, so really cool.
Yeah, so your two daughters, they're sort of old enough, I guess, to have an appreciation of what you did for a job.
Yeah, they are, and so it's they didn't really appreciate it at the time. In fact, I think my 9-year-old now, so my last few years of captain in the All Blacks, she'd come home and say, Dad, can you stop being All Black captain? Because, it's just the way it is. You walk around, go out for an outing, and people want to talk to you and take photos and all this stuff. And that's why I think she kind of got it in her head. She's like, why can't you just be Dad? Why can't we just go to, the playground and you push me on the swings?
Whereabouts are you talking? Like, are there, I don't know. You think people would have that respect, that they'd see you out with your family and they'd leave you alone? Is that not how it was?
Nah. But you have to understand that. That was the hardest thing, was when you're out with family and people would come up to you. Yeah, that was when you had to, be very placid and bite your tongue a little bit.
Yeah,
kind of just go through with it, because
for them it's like you've got your kids with them, but they never know when they're going to see you again, I guess.
No. So you understand it, but it was always kind of hard, like when you. But my oldest, she was pretty good. She'd just grab the younger two and kind of just walk them over there. And I was like, and a lot of people would say, "Oh no, it's all right. They can be in the photo too." And I was like, "No, I don't want my kids in a random person's photo of me." I'm like, I was kind of, but that whole part of it is pretty amazing. Like it's foreign, because you don't really expect, when you're growing up, that you get people stop you and talk to you and take photos. But a little bit frustrating when you're with the family and stuff. And so byproduct of that was I just had to be careful not careful, but we just didn't go to certain places. Didn't go to the mall during the school holidays. You don't go to the Margaret Mahey playground because it's too busy and stuff. Right. So it's like. So you'd, we'd only go to our local playground, and they'd go, Dad, this is a small slide. Lucky we're the only ones here, though. So, I was like, it's all part of it. But I think now, the older two kind of realise how potentially it was. Yeah, it's quite a big thing. But the young man who's doesn't there. But awesome, they were at my last game for the All Blacks, so. Got out on the field, and we've got some pretty cool moments, cheerist videos and stuff like that. So
that's cool. Did you want to talk about your 34th birthday?
34th birthday? Oh, yeah.
Like the shittest birthday
ever. Semi-final, 2019. So, man.
Yeah, so this was the Rugby World Cup semi-final. England beat the All Blacks 19-7. I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but because you've won 2 World Cups, I suppose losing one is easier to take? No?
Nah, it's not really. No, I think, because what I talked about too around the captaincy, like this, you wanted to do it for the team, but then also you've got all this responsibility as yourself, and I wanted to, prove that I was capable of doing it as a leader. And then, so you put in so much effort and work, and then it doesn't come off, and, my birthday was irrelevant. Like at that point, when a 34th birthday is irrelevant anyway. You're not going to have a party or anything for that, or, you don't get presents anymore. So,
but winning a World Cup semi would have been a nice birthday present. It would have been
nice, it would have been nice. But what put it in perspective, I guess, and that was probably the hardest time on a rugby field for me, post that game, having to show leadership, having to bring the team in.
Show leadership like after the loss?
Yeah, after the loss.
Right, like putting on a brave face? Is that kind of...
Yeah, and not just a brave face though, like showing that it's genuinely hurting to the team, but also saying to my boys, hey, we're an All Black team that, if we win gracefully, we have to be able to lose gracefully here. So let's put our heads up and let's pay respect to England and show everyone that, we'll pay respect to the crowd and all that. And then to those boys there, it's like, hey boys, how, you guys will get another chance here. So just remember this as well, this feeling. And not downgrading what it was, because, man, there was a lot of tears and stuff in the shed after that game, but just being able to keep it together and do that was what was required, you know. And then because it was my birthday, get back to the room, and you know, my wife's dropped off into the hotel, you know, like cards from the kids and stuff. So it was, you know, in some way it's so hard to you know, keep, you know, his perspective of things. And it was a real tough couple of days, knowing, you know, what had happened around the rugby. But then it was looking back now, I think it was a pretty pivotal moment potentially in New Zealand psyche around loss and around how to, you know, look after people and how to be vulnerable and how to, you know, the public around, you know, knowing that, hey, they've put in this effort and what have you, and then, you know, what will be in terms of results, and you can't always get the positive one, can you? So
yeah, I feel like New Zealand showed a bit of maturity, and I wonder if that's because we had one 2011 and 2015. I remember, I can't remember which one it was, but in maybe the 90s or the early 2000s, like John Hart got back from a World Cup and was spat on at the races. Yeah. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what terrible. It was. And potentially it was, you know, that would won 2 in a row before that. So, but then I hope New Zealand has learnt, you know, and it's like, yeah, you're not going to win every game. Yes, we go out there to win, and you give yourself a chance to win. And but it is a point where it's a game, and it's awesome. And as an All Black, man, you'd rather the expectation was that we win. Man, I'd hate to be in a team where the fans, you know, didn't expect you to win. It'd be
like the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just like it'd be demoralising, I guess, in some ways. So, that's what makes it who we are, you know. But there's, you know, it's a great thing about sport. So, but yeah, it was a tough week. But being able to then back up and in some ways be able to play a final game for the All Blacks after that loss, and
yes, was that your final game? The
third, fourth,
with Wales.
Yeah, Wales. Yeah. So finished that and actually genuinely be able to enjoy that game. And, knowing it was my last, and just go out there and have fun and remember things that happened. And, with a few guys as well who were retiring. So it was good.
You talk about that semi-final game in the book, and then how the next week you have to like watch a video analysis of the game. Is that necessary? That seems particularly cruel.
Yeah, pretty cruel, eh? Steve Hansen, man. It's pretty cruel, man. Yes and no.
What day's the game? The
game's probably Saturday.
Like Saturday, and then when you're watching the video replay,
probably Monday.
Right.
Tuesday, maybe.
Yeah.
Like we had a couple of days to reflect, and it wasn't a normal week for us that week, because of what to process all the things we had to. But I think what Steve and myself it wasn't about us who were leaving. It was about the 20-odd guys or more who were going to still be there.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's like, okay, we have to create an opportunity for some learning out of this for these guys. And so, for them to take with them as they move forward, and to whoever was going to be the next coach of Fozzie and stuff. So, I
suppose you do learn more from your fuck ups than
you do
successes, don't you?
Yeah. You don't want to have to wait for a loss, but it's how that's the best. It's how you learn. But and the other thing was that, man, it's an All Black jersey that you're putting on. So by the time you got to the end of the week, it was okay. We're an opportunity, privileged to be able to do this, and just go enjoy putting on the jersey again one more time.
Yeah. And what was that like for you? Because I remember in was it 2015 when Richie played his last game? Apparently he got back on the bus back to the hotel, still with his playing kit on, and left it on for as long as what he possibly could. What was it like for you, that final game? Are you sort of in the headspace where where you're thinking, okay, this is the last time I'm going to do this is the last time I'm going to do that?
A little bit, yeah, potentially. Like there's a little bit of that as you go into the ground and stuff and things like that, and even in the haka and stuff like that.
You led the haka, didn't you, for your last game?
Yeah. And honestly, it probably hit me when I started leading the haka, so I was got a bit of help from TJ and that haka, but it was, I think, like once you're on the field, you're just playing the game, and that's what it was. And then honestly, it was a cool moment to be able to finish up, and obviously to win that game, it was kind of irrelevant, but awesome to get a third, and then the whole reason not the whole reason I play, but one of the things that I've really enjoyed about playing, or the most enjoyable thing, was the mates you made, so that's what I tried to enjoy over that week, and then after for a couple of days, reflecting on things, But it was hard. It was a pretty emotional time for a lot of guys, who are moving on. Yeah,
and you got friends for life. Who are you still in touch with? Who would you consider like best friends or good friends?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you retire, you're moving very different circles.
You do. Yeah. Look, I've got some really good mates from here who probably the guys who of my era. So Andy Ellis, Wyatt Crockett, two really, really good mates, and then Sam Whitelock as well, who you play a lot of. So these guys they are connected too through wives and stuff as well. So and kids. So those guys are really tight. Like I'm actually really tight with Aaron Smith as well. He's one who, completely different in some aspects. But on the field, we're connected in a lot of ways, and I really enjoyed his friendship and helping him out as much as I could. And everyone's got different aspects of what you do, but I think it's the guys here who you spend a lot of time with, like Luke Romano, and you've grown up with. I think the ones that you really enjoy keeping in touch with. Yeah.
Now you mentioned Andy Ellis before, and that triggers a memory from another story in your book. You and him having a wrestle at a wedding.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate on that? So you're on the whiskies.
On the whiskies.
So this is in your book, but you've got no actual recollection of this happening.
No, not of the actual. Well, there's, it's probably just from memories from people telling me about it. But it was just.
So whose wedding was it?
So it was Owen Franks' wedding. Right. And he, instead of toasting he toasted with whiskey that night. So there's a few whiskies happening. I'm not big whiskey drinkers really. And so one thing led to another, and then when we're leaving.
So this is like the end of the night.
This is the end of the night, end of the night. So we're trying to get out to a taxi or something, and then I'm not sure what started it, but me and Andy end up wrestling on the floor on the grass, and it carries on for a very long time. And
so you're quite a bit bigger than him. Yeah,
a little bit bigger. Yeah. But he's pretty competitive.
So is it a fun? I mean, I guess you only know from what you've been told. But are you laughing while you're doing it, or is it serious?
We're laughing. No, we're laughing.
Yeah.
But
are you going full send?
Yeah, we're going close to full percent. We're it was more the fact that no one wanted to say they'd lost for some reason. I don't know, but it was just a bizarre kind of thing, Like, what are you doing this for?
You grown-ass man.
Yeah. It was like, hey, you just let me go and I'll let you go. But it was like, once you kind of like half let go and then someone would come in, and it was, genuinely just trying to, I don't know, choke each other out or something. But it was, it was funny. Like, I remember texting the next day, I was like, well, we got grass stains on my suit. He's like, yeah. So.
It's the most rugby-rich story ever. So it's at one of the Franks' weddings. It's you and Andy Ellis. And then Richie Mo'unga breaks the fight up?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he doesn't break it up. He tries to. So he was now going to be, he's now Owen's brother-in-law. So he was told to go in there and sort us out. And he's a young academy, obviously the young prodigy. And I'd never met him, I don't think, at that point. He comes in and I end up kind of grabbing hold of him and giving him a wee little choke as well, choking him out. Which was, don't you dare come in here and try and break up this fight kind of thing. Yeah, and then I don't know how it ended. Somehow it ended. And then the funny thing was, though, the next week is I meet him in the gym, Richie, and I go up to him because that's the type of, if I meet a young guy, I was like, oh yeah, hey mate, how are you? I'm Kieran. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Just thinking it's the first time I've ever met this guy. And then he to his credit, man, he was just like, yeah, nice to meet you too.
Sorry,
he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything about it, and then it wasn't until Andy paid me out for it that, hey, you do know that. So I was like, oh, jeez.
That's the worst story ever.
Oh, man.
In the book process, were you like, oh, do I share this? Do I don't share that? I mean, there was no reason for that story to ever get out.
Nah, but it was, I was just like, it's a fun story. And it's more just, it's like, it's a fun story to have and to talk about and just shows kind of, I don't know what it shows, to be honest. But it
shows you're real, I think. It shows you're human.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was funny. And those guys, like Andy's probably one of my best mates, and there's so many stories where we're competitive against each other, like even just at trainings. He's so annoying, I just want to...
Classic halfback.
Yeah, so it was like you do so much to try and, but the guys with the sharp voice used to always piss me off. So I'll just, try and get one over him all the time, to be honest.
Oh, that sounds like a great relationship. Okay, so physically you're very healthy these days. How's your mental health? Mental health good?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. Yeah, real good. Yep. Really enjoying life now, at a slower pace and everything, and just in a good space, loving being a dad and all that stuff. So
did you slump into any sort of not necessarily a depression, but like a funk after retiring? It must be like to go from the highs of being one of the most successful All Black captains ever to to just being a civilian. It must be like a huge adjustment.
It's a big adjustment. I've been pretty good. Like I was planning a little bit of what I'm going to do. Like I'm into doing a bit of work now, so I've created kind of like my own business around leadership. Doing a bit of kind of coaching and mentoring, stuff like that, with different businesses. And so that's for me is keeping me busy. And I also can find time for myself to potentially go play some golf every now and then, and go see the kids' sport and look after them there. So. There is, not saying there's different times where if I have a quiet day, then you kind of go, man, what am I doing? Or, you think of a few things, but no, really good space.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, the room that we're sitting in, which is like a shrine to you, it's, it must just give you immense pride, like, looking around at some of these treasures, if that's what you want to call them.
Yeah, I guess, like it's memories, eh? And so that's a thing that for me is quite cool. Every time you look at something up there, like there's Murrayfield up there, which is where I played my first test, and so it just brings back a few different memories and the connections you've had and the guys that you see on the different things as well. So it's I bloody enjoyed my time, like playing and doing that thing, and I can look back at it as it is a time of my life,
That's a hell of a career.
So you're going, well, I kind of don't need to search for that anymore, I can search for something else. Yeah,
absolutely. And what about running goals in the future? What do we got? Are we going to see you on the start line at an Old Ghost, or is that 55?
Oh, I don't know, man. No? I don't know.
What would it take to get you?
Oh, look, honestly, doing it with some friends, like it would be, yourself or Scotty or someone saying, okay, or my mates saying, oh yeah, we're going to do it, and then you got someone to train with, you got someone to have some fun with and do it like that, I'm not just going to go out there and do it myself. It's all about probably doing it and then enjoying each other's company afterwards. So,
so never say never?
Never say never, but I don't know. I'm not sure what it will be in terms of goals. I don't, did this adventure race up in Kaikoura a month or so ago, which involved a bit of biking, trekking and different stuff as well, road gains and stuff. So, and that was quite cool, it was a 12-hour race and, it's you're going. I like those events that, you're pushing yourself, but you're not going flat tack. It's not on the clock. You're kind of stopping a little bit to eat or whatever. And
it's enjoyable. Well, if you're looking for like a taster event, I recommend the Rootburn Classic. It's like 32 k's, but it's a hell of a run. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So something like that, man. It's probably you know, I think I'll keep going with it. You know, definitely going to enjoy it while I can at the moment. Till the body packs up. So,
maybe it won't. Maybe it won't.
Yeah, it might not. And
You
I
seem
think
like a good Nick now.
yeah. So you know, if it keeps going, it keeps going, and as I said, I'm bloody enjoying it. So keep the body ticking over, and if something pops up, or as I said, I'm not going to go and search for something, but all those type of trail type events, are probably the things that get me going.
Yeah, it's a great community too, the trail running community. Real special group of people.
Yeah, they all seem pretty nice and pretty connected, and just enjoy what they do.
Yeah, all right. Well, Kieran Read, it's been an hour and a quarter. You've been so generous with your time. That's probably a great place to end it.
No worries, mate. Appreciate it.
Oh, mate, thank you very much for all you've done for New Zealand over the years. We really appreciate you. And thanks for responding to my request on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's the one. Yeah, look, I think it's awesome. And I'll put a plug in here for if anyone out there wants to connect at all. kieranread.co.nz is my website, and go have a look.
Look at you, networking.
Yeah, there we go.
Hustling. Thanks, mate. Kieran Read, thanks very much for listening all the way through. Really hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did enjoy it, the best sort of marketing we can do to grow this community is word of mouth. Tell your friends about it. Tell your family about it. If you can think of someone that you think might like to hear it, let them know, or share it on your social media channel. Another thing you can do is just like or subscribe wherever you get your podcast from, and check us a 5-star rating if you think it's worthy of a 5-star rating. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate where this thing is going, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. Love you heaps. Thank you.